1 Corinthians 16, 13, and 14.
Be watchful.
Be watchful.
Stand firm in the faith.
Stand firm in the faith.
Act like men.
Act like men.
Be strong.
Be strong.
Let all that you do
Let all that you do.
Be done in love.
be done in love.
Gotta say, that passage has really gripped me. What a desperately needed message for the men in North America. You know, men are so busy doing so many things, and pastors really aren't that much different. Every day, every week, filled with stuff, no downtime, no in-between, so much to get done, and somehow in the middle of it all, men are neglected, they're overlooked. What are we doing to reach men?
I know you're asking why in the world should we come to something like this? Well, manhood issue is the issue in our day and the issue in our culture when the definition of manhood and the family is up for grabs.
Good men, godly men, strong men are an absolute endangered species.
There's a lot of kind of false pictures of what being a man is all about, and so what we're not talking about is some sort of false bravado, overly masculine type of man that when all said and done is too manly to love, too manly to serve, too manly to care, too manly to lower himself in humility. But what we are talking about is a man who's willing to be wrung out for the good of his family, his life, and his God.
What does it look like for God's men to act like men, not crazy, inflated bravado, not weak, passive, but somewhere in the middle, strong in the strength of Christ? That's what we're going for.
The key to being a man, to being a good man, to being a godly man, is being a man who is simultaneously tender and tough, and we see this in Jesus. He is very tender with women, children, those who are hurting and suffering. He's very tough with religious blockheads, bullies, abusers, thugs, and those who would do harm to those who were vulnerable.
And so what we need is the gospel to change men and to call men to what it means to walk with the Lord Jesus Christ and relentlessly commit themselves to every single thing that it looks like in being a man.
But how to get the men? I think we all understand there's subjects we need to talk to men about that we can't talk to them about in front of their children. There's subjects we need to talk to men about that we can't talk to them about in front of their wives.
Dudes are into porn, dudes are into alcohol, dudes are into drugs, dudes are into recreational activity and constant stupidity. They're not into Christ, and they're not acting in a responsible way. To use Paul's words, they're not acting like men.
What if we could get men off by themselves? What if we could talk straight to men like men want to be talked to? Don't beat around the bush. Don't sneak up on me. I don't need any flowers or special decorations. Just get to the heart of the matter. Men want to be free. They want to get victory over the sins that are dragging their soul down, but they desperately need to hear from some clear messengers who can cut to the core, set it straight, and call us to God's holy standard.
See, Christ through his gospel strengthens and changes men into our ability to be men.
I believe men are longing for someone to lead them to a better place. And like you pastors, I wake up most days, I've got plenty to do. I can't do this alone. And so we're reaching out to pastors and just wondering, could we do something for the men in North America together that we can't do separately?
We're putting out the bullhorn and saying, calling all men across the country.
So that God might stir up in a generation of men a desire to be all that God has called them to be in their masculinity.
I believe God's going to take us apart and put us back together as the men He wants us to be.
So join us for the Act Like Men event.
So there be a phenomenal global movement of men who are holding the Bible tightly and believing in Jesus deeply and living out the truth of every single thing that God gives us the grace to live out.
This is going to be a powerful, catalytic, life-changing event. And every man who sits there is going to be saying to himself, I wish I'd invited more people to this.
Our hope is that your heart might be stirred up and that maybe what's behind you might be redeemed and what lies before you might be seized in regards to the opportunities to be obedient to God and His call on your life as a man.
let's just prayerfully anticipate that God is going to do something significant at the Act Like Men events. And let's promise ourselves now that we will do everything we can to get there, get our sons there, get our fathers there, get our friends there, rally our churches to be there. And let's trust and ask God to do something that's going to start a fire in the men in North America. Start it right here, God. Start it by the power of your Spirit. Use your word. Use your servants. Call all of us how desperately it's needed that we would all act like men.